Jen.
How you doing?
Hi, Treminio.
Please have a seat. Thank you. Have a resume for us.
Yes, I do.
And where are you from? I am from Long Island.
Thanks. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about where you're from and what your background is.
Well, I'm from Long Island. My parents are from El Salvador. They immigrated here to the U.S. when they were in their teenage years. So I was born here. My first language is Spanish, and I learned English when I was 5 years old. So that's just a little bit on my background.
How much TESOL experience do you have? I see you're getting an institutional TESOL certificate and it's your concentration. How much experience in that have you got?
I've gotten at least 2 years worth of experience. Right now, I'm currently teaching at one-to-one, where I'm an ESL instructor, so I teach adult learners. Most of my students do not know any English, so I'm working.
And they're adult?
Yeah, they're adults.
Do you speak Spanish?
Yes, I just said.
Okay. And they, I'm assuming, is this a Spanish population that you're working with?
Well, the majority is Spanish. There's some Haitians, there's some French speakers, but majority are Spanish speaking.
How often are you doing this?
I do it twice a week, so at least 3 hours a week.
Okay. And do you have some sort of curriculum that you're following? Or?
Yes, I'm following, her name is Cecilia. I'm following her curriculum. So right now with my group, I just finished the beginner's packet. So they all pass the exam with flying colors, which I'm so proud of them. And right now we're starting on the book. So we just started that yesterday, actually.
And do you have work, sorry, I'm reading while I'm talking. Do you experience working with children?
Yes, I do. I was a teacher assistant in Mary G. Clarkin School. I worked there when I was in 10th grade during the summer. So it was a summer camp. Most of the children were actually from a special ed background. So I worked with them. And I also, in the Dominican Republic, I didn't teach necessarily, but I worked with children 5 days a week for like five hours, like a day. So I mostly did translation, and if a group, let's say a team from the U.S. wasn't prepared with the children's program, I was prepared to come up with the program, either a Bible story or singing or just playing with them. So I would figure out something just to get the kids motivated.
Have you ever had the responsibility of classroom management, managing the classroom, making sure that the students are working well with each other, discipline issues, those types of things?
I would say that would fall more into the category when I was a teacher's assistant. I remember having a student when he was 6 years old and he had behavioral issues. So the teacher asked me to do a one-to-one interaction with him, and even when we were in a playground, I would have to watch over him because he would either scream or hit the other kids. So I was just, it's not easy because you also have like other students to watch for, but I have just not the most abundant experience, but just a bit of experience with that.
When you think about the idea of taking this job and moving overseas, and you're there for a year, I mean, I see that you went to the Dominican Republic for a few months. How do you feel about the idea of picking up, leaving your family, leaving your friends? You're not really coming home.
I'm actually very excited.
Really?
That's just me. If I would go now, I would go right now. I'm just very adventurous. I love to learn, and I love to grow. And especially in Japan, which is a different culture from what I'm used to, that would be something exciting because I'm just fascinated by the way people live or the way they communicate with someone. So that would be a great opportunity.
What do you think the greatest difficulty in taking this job would be for yourself?
For myself, I would say language barrier, since Japan is opposite language of English. Just from my degree that I've learned, we learn that Spanish is closer to English, so when someone's learning English, it's easier. But when it comes to a language that's just completely different forms of writing, even the way instead of reading right to left, you read left to right. So it's just different forms. So that would be something that I have to work on, because to even create trust with the kids, you need to understand the culture. And that's something that is very important in Japanese culture, is trust. So they are more reactive to the teacher.
How do you respond to structured environments?
How do I respond? Well, I respond well. I to be very creative. So I'm very, especially working with kids, you have to be very motivated, because with kids, their attention span is much shorter than an adult learner. But the beauty of that is you learn from your students as well, which is important as a teacher. A quality of a teacher is to learn from your students.
How do you balance the tension between creativity and following the curriculum we give you?
Well, I would have to first assess the students. If they are meeting the requirements of the curriculum, and that will either, it could be formal assessment, a test assessment, or oral assessment, or in the classroom, I would ask them a question to see if they're really retaining the information that I'm teaching them. And if they're not, then I would have to go to more of a structural type of method to teach them.
We're having to wrap up here. Do you have any questions for us?
Yes, I do. I would just like to know what would be your ideal candidate for this position. How would you describe that person?
Well, I think we're looking for someone who has a lot of enthusiasm. I think our preference would be that you have some measure of experience working with students, working in the context of teaching English. It's not like teaching math to someone who speaks the same language. Communication is the #1 barrier, the #1 thing that you're trying to enable and empower. So we're looking for someone who's got a bit of experience in that. But someone who's got enthusiasm, who works well with children, who's loyal, who comes to the job every day, who we can rely on, someone who can give at least a measure of commitment. Those are the sorts of traits that we're looking for.
And I believe I have those kids who do that.
Okay.
Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks very much.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it too. Thank
Nice
you for
to
your
meet you.
time.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Should get the job.